oh my God, they took a vote on defunding Israel in Congress. That's already amazing. Second of all, it got 104 yes votes. Third of all, it lost. Okay, so I have a lot of facts on this, and it's really interesting which side different Democrats came out on. But first, Ryan, is this progress or is this not nearly enough, or both?
Well, objectively, by definition, it's progress. There was a vote that was similar to this 2 years ago, and it got 37 votes. So just, I'm not a mathematician, but 104 is higher than 37. So like that's progress. However, it's not 218. It's not the amount that you need. Thomas Massie was on Breaking Points this morning, and he said that Republican leaders allowed this vote to happen because they thought it would be good to create the dissension within the Democratic Party. That's their strategic or tactical outlook here. But they may, that might be short-term thinking on their part, because I don't think that an uprising like this is going to be contained to just one party.
Yeah, I wonder about that. I'm very skeptical about that, but we're gonna get to that because I wanna give people that context and see all the backroom dealing that happened in this vote and which side people went on. So you gotta know, we have a 10-year memorandum of understanding with Israel, which is absurd to begin with. We say we're gonna give them $38 billion unconditionally, no matter what they do in that 10-year stretch. Absurd, utterly absurd, right? $5 billion goes right away in terms of hard costs into their missile defense appropriations, and then 3.3 million every year. So that's the 3.3 million that the Massie amendment was trying to take away this year. Okay, so now let's go to the Hill to explain the rest. The amendment to the fiscal 2027 funding bill for the State Department and the National Security would have prohibited funds from the bill from being used for Israel and reduced the foreign military financing program by 3.3 billion, matching the amount that would be designated for Israel. So as we told you, the amendment failed. It was 314 to 104, so 104 Americans and 314 Israelis in Congress as things stand now. Just over 2 years ago, as Ryan pointed out, only 37 House Democrats, mostly on the party's, as Politico calls it, hard left flank. That's where 60% of voters are for the whole country. Anyway, and we appreciate the shout out that 60% of the country is hard left. But okay, voted for a similar bill bid to crack down on US aid for Israel. This time, a much broader swath of Democrats came along. 103 of the 211 members voting Wednesday, plus another 10 who voted present. Of course, the 104th vote was Tom Massie on the Republican side. So a bit of a seismic shift here, and of course driven by what's happening in elections. So the vote came after months of contentious primary elections where progressive candidates toppled incumbent after incumbent by publicly eschewing spending from pro-Israel groups and promising to recast America's relationship with the nation. That's where I was saying that the New York elections were the beginning of the revolution. So where Mamdani's victory was maybe the shot heard around the world. The New York victories were Concord and Lexington, and then the Colorado victory has apparently clarified the thinking of some Democrats in Congress. It's all a bit of a ruse because even half the people that voted to take away the funding were like, no, I hate this and I don't really want to vote for this. But given the current circumstances, which I love hearing that, because number one, I know they're frauds. All those guys have taken giant amounts of money from AIPAC. But the fact that you, the voters, put pressure on them is awesome, and how a democracy is supposed to work. So let's give you more. Now we go to the sellouts. Wesley Bell is an Israeli asset inside of US Congress. He's taken $15 million from the Israeli PACs, and he used that to defeat Cori Bush. Cori Bush's crime, of course, was criticizing Israel. And although the Israeli lobby has no control, somehow they spent $15 million defeating her, and 18 million against Jamal Bowman, and 16 to 32 million against Tom Massie, and now 50 million against Abdul El Sayed, let alone the hatchet job they did on Graham Plantner. But remember, they have no influence at all in Washington. That's why they got 314 votes. Anyway, so we go to the sellout Wesley Bell. He says, today I voted against a slew of reckless amendments offered by Republicans Were they? Following a Trump doctrine that does nothing but destabilize the Middle East, weaken our allies, and withhold humanitarian aid from those who need it most. So that's deception. So he's making it sound like he's opposed to Trump and the Republicans. This is the part where I tell you he voted with all of the Republicans except Massie. And it is a trap by the Republicans. They're going to get us to, vote on popular issues. But I'm not going to fall into that trap. I'm going to stay on the unpopular side with my Republican friends who I'm pretending to oppose. Okay, whatever you say. Oh, I wonder what the connective tissue is between them. Oh, right, they all take AIPAC money. Okay, now we go to Hakeem Jeffries. He has two different funny parts of this statement. We told you on earlier shows this week about how he's like, oh, I'm doing it for humanitarian reasons. I want to fund the peace building. Yeah, is that what Israel's doing with the 3.3 billion? Are they building peace? Is that what we've seen in the last 3 years? Anyways, he said, quote, in my view, there are more decisive ways to achieve urgent change necessary when it comes to the far-right Netanyahu government. Really? More decisive than taking away all their money? And why are you keeping it in your back pocket? If you have such a decisive way of changing their genocide and wars, why don't you use it now? And then he added, Republican leaders are desperately trying to weaponize an amendment they do not support for nakedly partisan reasons. Real quick, let's talk about something that holds way too many businesses back. You've got a great idea, you've got momentum, but you're stuck because you don't have the right person to execute on it. And hiring, full-time recruiting takes weeks you don't have. Here's a tip. You don't have to do it all yourself. Upwork is a one-stop platform to find, hire, and pay expert freelancers across web and software development, data and analytics, marketing, business operations, and more. Upwork helps grow your business by giving you fast access to specialized talent across more than 125 categories, so you can fill skill gaps, launch projects faster, and scale support up or down without committing to full-time headcount. You can browse profiles, review past work, and get help scoping the role so you can hire with confidence and get started quickly. With Business Plus, you can access the top 1% of talent on Upwork, and with AI-powered shortlisting, you'll get matched to the right freelancer in under 6 hours. No endless searching required. Upwork also cuts down operational hassle by handling things like contracts and payments in one place, so you can spend more time running the business. Thousands of growing businesses already trust Upwork to hire flexible, high-quality freelance talent for everything from one-off projects to ongoing support. It's free to sign up, and posting a job is easy. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to connect with top talent ready to help your business grow. That's UPWORK.com. Upwork.com. Weaponize it how? In general elections, and I want to ask you this, Ryan, because I get that some Republicans in their infinite stupidity might have thought, let's introduce Massie's amendment, even though we hate Massie. So some Democrats will lose funding from their donors by voting against Israel? Or do they really, are they so deluded in Washington that they think that anti-Israel position is unpopular in elections?
I think that they believe that any fighting is good, and actually among Democrats is good. And actually you see the reverse sometimes when Republicans are fighting over some kind of core issue that they're going back and forth over. You'll see a lot of kind of Democratic establishment types, saying like, oh, I'm grabbing the popcorn. Like they just love it when Republicans are fighting, and they don't actually think through, like, actually, what if the fight that they're having is useful to them and they're going to emerge on the other side of it with a kind of reconstituted position that is stronger than the one that they had before. But I think the Republican leadership, Mike Johnson, the others, are doing the same thing here. They're not thinking about it. They're just like, oh, Democrats are going to yell at each other about Israel, and that's good. It's great when they're in disarray and they're fighting with each other. For Wesley Bell, of course, there is no Republican opponent in his district, in Cori Bush's district, because she's running again, as I know your viewers know, and she might beat him on August 4th. Like, she has very little money, but it's a race where she might get some outside support, and everybody knows who she is. So money doesn't matter as much as it does in like a New York race where you're going from being a community organizer or a bartender or whatever else and running. Like everybody knows who Cori Bush is. Everybody knows who Wesley Bell is. But this is bad timing for Wesley Bell, I would say. And AIPAC is coming in heavy in this St. Louis race. But yeah, like I noticed as the vote was going on, there were 3 Republicans who had voted for the amendment, but they switched their votes, and by the end it was down to 1. We don't know what happened there, who voted and switched their votes. But it is remarkable that even though the kind of right-wing podcast world is a place where this debate is really happening in a serious way, it does not at all translate to Republicans either in the Senate or House. It's just, they're still completely lockstep with Israel.
Yeah, a couple of things here. So number one, I love it when people are not bright on the other side and make huge mistakes because they believe in dumbass conventional wisdom. So this conventional wisdom in DC is that, fighting is really bad within a party. Is it? Because Trump started a huge fight within the Republican Party, and then he won 2 elections. So
3, as he'll claim tonight.
Yeah. So there's no evidence that fighting is bad. In reality, fighting, strong primaries, etc., produce, generally speaking, stronger candidates and more victories. It's just not empirically true at all. But they're like, oh no, it's great to be united behind the donor class. The voters love that, do they? So I think what's gonna happen here, Ryan, is this is a huge own goal by the Republicans, because what they've done here is they've declared the Republican Party is definitively the corrupt anti-Israel party. They work for Israel, they don't work for America, they're America last. And now I see on social media 3-time Trump voters, former Republicans. We're not even talking about independents anymore that supported Trump. We're cutting into like significant Republican voters here going, wait, we're the America Last party? No, I'm out, I'm gone. Ryan, something shocking has happened. Some of them are even saying, man, 104 Democrats or 103 Democrats voted for America First. Maybe I'll start considering the Democrats.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson, I don't know if you saw him today, he said the Democratic voters have like saved America. He wasn't saying Democratic Party, but Democratic voters who pushed on this so furiously are like, he's looking at them and saying, good for you. Like you guys stood up here. And I don't know if you saw this, and I know we're gonna get into this later, but we got a fascinating comment from the White House yesterday for this article that we did about JD Vance. And in it, let me see if I can find it. They called us like America hating. They said, it's sad that drop site news reporters are so filled with hate for America and devoid of respect for themselves that they have become full-throated propagandists for the Iranian regime, said White House spokesperson Anna Kelly. What's so, to me, revealing about that comment, and this isn't the first time they've said this about drop site, they keep coming at us as America last and America hating because they sense that their number one vulnerability is the gap between their claim that they are America first and the fact that their foreign policy exposes that to be a lie. So they have to then accuse their opponents of being America last or hating themselves. And I like the devoid of respect for themselves part. They didn't even need to throw that in. That was just a little extra bonus. But I think it does really reveal that they recognize this Achilles heel of theirs, that it's a huge vulnerability, that they so flagrantly are violating their America First campaign promise. Like, it's very simple. I'm going to be America first. Like, kudos for coming up with like a campaign slogan that is as clear as that one. Like, you couldn't, anybody can understand what that means. To then operate completely in contrast to that is just fully undermines their integrity and who they say they are. And I think that they get that. Like, it's that bad that they understand how difficult it's going to be to square that.
Yeah, and so the Republicans are partly reacting that way because and voting with Israel because they saw what happened to Tom Massie. So they're like, yeah, the Democratic voters are in a rebellion, and you guys might lose your seats if you're America Last, but our party is okay with it. Our voters are still voting with the ads. They see their older voters, they're seeing the ads, and they're telling them, oh yeah, the ads don't even talk about Israel. They're just a bunch of lies that AIPAC throws out there on other issues. But it worked, and Massie lost. So they're saying, well, look, if I go against Israel, I'm going to have $32 million spent against me. So I'm going to make sure that Israel's interests are served before American interests. And that's how politics works. The only people who don't know that are the people in mainstream media. And I used to say the establishment Democrats, but even some of them are catching on now. So the last part of this story is amazing. Seth Moulton, who's a huge pro-war Democrat, establishment Democrat, but he's running as Ed Markey for the Senate seat in Massachusetts. So all of a sudden he's like, damn, begrudging. But yes, I'm gonna vote for defunding Israel. Nancy Pelosi voted to defund Israel. And her statement was like, wow, this is the most painful thing I've ever done. I'm so sorry, Israel. I have to do this, right?
You remember what she said 6 or 7 years ago, that the Capitol itself could crumble to the ground, but our support for Israel would remain regardless.
Wow.
Capitol still standing, Pelosi voting to strip all funding from Israel.
Wow. So that's how much things have changed. But we're not there yet. We're still getting outvoted 3-1 in the American Congress. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.